Give that guy a map. Merch is now available at chrissmooth.com, shipping worldwide. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver floated the idea this week that the NBA should switch from 12-minute quarters to 10-minute quarters. His reasonings are he wants to align the game more with international basketball. They play 10-minute quarters. He said that college basketball is 40 minutes a game. He said the TV broadcast would only be about 2 hours if they make the change. And this would be a way to shorten the season without actually shortening the season, because you would get rid of about 16 games a season based on the amount of minutes that you're subtracting. And finally, he said that this would help with load management, because we know a lot of teams, a lot of players are missing games. They're not playing anywhere near all 82 games. This has been a debate for quite some time. Some people think 82 games is too many games in a season. We got to lower that. Let me know what you think in the comments section. I'm not a fan of doing this for two main reasons. The first reason is going to be the NBA records. If you lower the quarter length from 12 minutes to 10 minutes, that means going forward, all of these players, they're not going to be able to break records, because some records are going to be unattainable. It's going to be impossible because they played more minutes per game than you are. But really, the biggest problem is that the bench wouldn't matter as much, because to be a championship team, you've got to be able to rest your starters. You got to get quality minutes from the bench unit so that they can come back in the clutch and finish out the game. But if you shorten the game, then you don't need to use your bench as much. They're not as important. And it would be a lot easier to just have a great starting five. We've seen a lot of teams try to do that, have a crazy starting five, have no bench, but it's tough to win in a playoff series against a team that's deep and that has a bench. So I don't like it. And this season, there's been a lot of talk about NBA ratings going down because they have been down from previous seasons. Why is the game not as entertaining to watch? And I think if you're dumbing down the physical aspect of the game, because these are athletes, and that's number one. Yeah, the X's and O's matter, the strategy matters, but you got to be fit, physical. You've got to have the longevity, the stamina to be able to play a long season, a long playoff run. All the previous generations have been able to do it. And the older generations, they didn't even have private flights. They had to fly commercial. They were doing their back-to-back games. They weren't complaining. They were playing way more games than we're seeing today. We're seeing NBA star players not even get close to 82 games being played in a season. Even though we got guys like Kobe, that wasn't even that long ago. He had multiple seasons where he played all 82 games. And most seasons, he played 70 plus games or so. We have star players today that have never played all 82 games in a season before. How are the players better today when they can't even do what the players in the past were doing? They have higher salaries, better nutrition, better doctors, better research, everything, and yet they can't do the physical aspect of the game. They can't match that level of intensity, just the physicality of it. You can't dumb down the stamina of the game. It's like saying a 40-yard dash. Instead of doing a 40-yard dash at the Olympics, we're going to do a 30-yard dash. Instead of doing the 100-meter, we're going to drop it down to 90. You know, you can't do that. You got to keep the same standard, and you let every generation come through the same standard of physical fitness, and then they show us what they could do. If they're better, if anything, if they get too good, if the players get too good, then maybe you need to increase the fitness requirement. You see the NFL doing that. The NFL, they added another game to the schedule. They're already talking about maybe adding another week, another game. That makes sense to maybe add more as time goes on, but to take away, that doesn't make a lot of sense. A lot of the changes that we've seen the NBA make or try to make the game better, more entertaining, it doesn't solve the problem. It ignores the problem. If we go back to Kobe Bryant as an example, because it wasn't that long ago, Shane Battier versus Kobe Bryant. When Shane Battier would contest his shot, he would literally jump, not touch his body in any way, but put his hand right in front of his eyes so that he couldn't see. He would try to blind that man so he couldn't see where he was shooting. And yet Kobe would still make those shots. So if you go look up those highlights, it's hilarious. But that type of contest where you're jumping right in front of him like that, you're landing in the area where he's going to land when you both come down, you can't contest the shot like that today. It's going to be a foul. Can you imagine trying to contest a three-point shooter like Shane Battier? They're going to call a foul every single time. Now, we know why they added in the rule because of Zaza with the dirty play when Kawhi got injured. But if you look back at that play, remember, Zaza never jumped. He just closed out. He never left the ground. He just kind of put his hand up and then he stood right in the landing area. So maybe you just keep that a foul, but you need to be able to physically jump up and contest shots. Everyone's talking about all these threes. How can you stop people from shooting threes if you can't jump to contest the shot? What the NBA should be doing is they should be changing the rules, allowing more physical contact, allowing people to actually contest threes. Yeah, if you just hit somebody crazy on a three-point shot, it's a foul, but you got to let them jump straight up and contest, get a hand up. You got to tighten up the rules. That's why when we watched Olympic basketball, it was really entertaining because they officiate the games differently. If you remember the tournament before the Olympics where they had Brunson, remember they didn't send the best players, but they still sent good NBA players. But that USA team didn't even get a medal. They didn't even get to the third place game, the bronze medal game. They were so bad. And watching that, it was actually tough to watch that team play because a lot of times they would take shots, there would be a little bit of contact, and they would be confused that there's no foul call. You'd see them look at the referee, and then the other team would be running the other way. They'd go on a fast break. If you officiate the game like they do in international play, it'll be more entertaining to watch. If you allow more contact on the perimeter and on jumping and contesting shots, then there's going to be more resistance to the offense. It's going to be more entertaining to watch. They should be making changes like this, not trying to change the quarter length or drop the amount of games or switch the All-Star game to this weird format where there's 4 different teams. It's crazy because on Twitter, on X, somebody posted a video of the All-Star game in 1988 or 89. I don't remember. But they had Michael Jordan, they had Magic Johnson, they had Isaiah Thomas, right? They had everybody, all of the stars. And in the first quarter of the game, everybody was playing hard. It was like game 7 of the finals. They were playing defense, getting steals, deflecting passes. They were saving the ball from going out of bounds. They were blocking shots. They were fouling each other. It was intense, and that was the first quarter. That was when the game just started. It just tipped off, and they were going at it. You watch the All-Star game today, and it's like a shoot around. They're just walking around, you know. And in the past, not too long ago, like a few years ago or so, they used to at least compete at the end of the game. In the fourth quarter, they would at least start to play some defense, try to make it interesting. But now they just kind of, you know, something light. They don't really try. But the intensity was just so high back then. The NBA's got to get the culture back to that intensity. So they've got to change the rules, add the defense. They got to do something about these contracts. They got to incentivize players. Maybe the money shouldn't be guaranteed because this doesn't make any sense. Players will sign a contract where they're getting like $150 million. Even if they get injured, the money's guaranteed, but they're still not going out there and playing. Even if these players did get some kind of injury, they would still get the full money on that contract that they signed because it's guaranteed. But you're seeing that they still don't want to go out there and play. But the older generations never made that kind of money, and they were out there playing, even if they had some injuries. Guys like Allen Iverson, the man was always injured, and he was out there playing almost every single night. Iverson had 8 seasons where he played over 70 games. And then we have this problem in the modern NBA where players, they're healthy, they got these big contracts, but then they don't want to play. They're like, I don't like this team, I don't want to play. I got all this money, I'm not playing. It's like, how are you not excited to play when you're making all this money, baby? If you get $100 million contract, you should be able to play for anybody. You shouldn't be complaining. Go out there, hustle, do your thing, and play. Last but not least, let's talk about Lamelo Ball. He got snubbed for the All-Star game, and it was actually pretty funny because he got the most votes by the fans, but then the players also respected his game. He was voted number 3 by the players to make the All-Star game. But not only did he not become a starter, but he didn't even make it onto the reserves. So a lot of people are really angry about that. They're saying, how is that possible? Because in the past, the reason why they changed the voting, there were some international players that would get a lot of votes. And they would be like top 5 in the voting because everybody in their country would vote for them. But these were guys that were coming off the bench. They weren't really star players. They weren't putting up the stats. So it made sense that you didn't want those guys to just get an all-star spot just because all the fans voted. But here is an interesting situation because LaMelo, he's got good stats. He's got the popular vote. He's got the team, the players, the actual NBA players are voting for him, but he still didn't make it. I'm not really too worried about this snub because the Hornets, they have a terrible record. They're losing games like crazy. LaMelo also missed some games too with injury. He missed a lot of games. And he does turn the ball over a lot. So he's got a high turnover stat, and he is a volume shooter. He shoots the ball a lot. So I think that's why they ultimately said, you know, let's go with somebody else. But I think now he's on the radar. And if he can just get that team to win some more games, get closer to a 500 record, even if he can't get a 500 record, but he could get a little bit closer, I think he'll be an all-star. So he could be an all-star maybe next season if he can translate this game and these stats into more games won, because he's averaging like 28 points a game. He's averaging a good amount of assists, right? His stats look really good, but you got to convert that into wins. So yes, it is a snub. He probably should have just been a reserve, but I'm okay with him not making it. It just tells him, hey, get more wins and you're in. He'll be in next season if you get more wins. The Hornets is tough. Their organization, it's been terrible. You see, they're always in the news. There's always some drama. We got some drama going on right now with what was happening back when Rozier was there. So we'll see how that unfolds. But I think LaMelo, it's okay. He'll be an all-star in the future. It's going to happen. Get some more wins and get it done. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Give that guy a map. Merch is now available at chrissmooth.com. Shipping worldwide. My songs, He Quit the Game, Lob City, and My Camo are now available on all streaming platforms. Oh, he's not gonna guard it. I got tape from way downtown. Hey, we're reaching on that. I'll repay him with the lob right back. Ho ho! I catch a lob, I throw a lob.